Does anybody have any questions on?
Yes, I do.
Sure.
On paragraph 1, second paragraph, item 1, what is pitch?
Where are you, oh.
No domestic animal or fowl shall be permitted to be led or loose or on within the parks and playgrounds with the following express exceptions.
Ball field, court, or pitch.
Yeah, what's pitch?
I think that probably refers to a ball field where there's coach pitch as opposed to a T-ball field. But that's something that you know, we can discuss or modify. I mean, you want to take pitch out or?
Well, I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and if I don't know what it is, how is somebody reading the ordinance? I don't know what that is.
Well, I think the intent of the paragraph is to keep any dog or fowl. I don't know who's got fowl this day and age or what fowl is, but the only fowl that I know is foul ball.
You don't walk through
But you know, the intent is to keep these animals more than 50 feet away from any place or field or court where the kids are gonna gather. So I mean, we can modify it right here because I don't know what pitch is either, but I do know what the intent of this specific provision is.
There's no reference in this document to the Cooper Scooper ordinance.
Okay.
And I think that is also critical if you're going to allow pets walking through the park.
Well, we can incorporate that by reference, you know,
yeah,
that.
It should be referenced
right.
to the ordinance.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if that's repetitive, but I understand the point. I think
you know, even if you just have the ordinance, whatever that ordinance is.
Okay.
And have it, you know.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Ordinance.
Councilman, anything else, Councilman Matt?
Yeah. Who will be patrolling the park every day to enforce this?
Well, you know, to get, and I think that goes into the discussion that we had when it was before the entire council. It's enforceability, and that's really what I have the problem with. You know, first of all, who's going to clean up after the pets where the pet owners aren't as diligent as maybe they should be, and yeah, poop or poop, whatever you can certainly pick up. But what about urine? You've got, which cannot be picked up. You know, you're going to have kids playing in urine, and that's really one of the problems that I had with it the first go around. You're going to turn the police department into, basically, no pun intended, watchdogs. And I don't think that should be the function of the Dumont Police Department. I personally, I think there's a safety issue, but I also think there's a cleanliness issue, and I don't want Dumont resources, put towards enforcing the law. Now, you also, the other problem that I have, and I'll say it for the record, I'll say it for the camera, you've got a lot of out-of-town people coming into Dumont, and I've seen them with their pit bulls and their large dogs, and I don't know that they're going to be as diligent as Dumont residents in cleaning up our parks. So you raise a lot of good points, and I think that goes to the reasons why you should be for it or against it. But there again, I don't know that. I think the council should have the opportunity to at least vote on the language as it's presented. I have a lot of problems with it. And
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You asked us to read through this and
right.
see if we have problems with this.
Right.
These are the problems I have with it. I mean, who's going to write the violations?
Well,
is it park security? The park security's out there? Is it the police? Can a citizen make a complaint? I mean,
The park security doesn't take care of when we have trouble with the park either. All they do is respond.
That's my point.
Finish, please. All they do is respond by calling the police. So now we're going to have to take a cop off the street to come up and pull this dog off the park.
Again, there's nothing in here that says how is this going to be addressed.
well, there's only one way that this can be enforced, and that's with either a local resident calling the police department or park security calling the police department. By hook or by crook, the police department needs to be involved with enforcing this. Unless someone's going to make some kind of a citizen's complaint or citizen's arrest. I think it's a bad idea. I went on record the last time, I'll go on record this time. It's animals, dogs do not, we all know, Memorial Park is the central, it's the universe of Dumont. Everybody converges for parties, there could be, on a nice day where there's, and I coach, Matt coaches, you're up there all the time, I mean, there could be 1,000 kids up there, and do you really want dogs roaming around the park? And by the way, I mean, is there any location in Dumont, going back to the paragraph which you identified, is there any location in Dumont that's more than 50 feet away from a ball field? I don't know. I mean,
Memorial Park.
I don't, you know,
can't show me
maybe.
one spot in Memorial Park where it's 50 feet.
So
That
there
was
was
that was my next question. It talks about having a 3-foot
3-foot leash.
leash. But if you're dealing with 50 feet from a pitch or a ball field or a court, I don't see 50 feet.
I don't see
mean,
50
you know,
feet.
I have a problem with that.
You look at if you're on Pershing facing the ball field, there's nothing along Pershing that's more than 50 feet. You have the tennis courts to the left, you've got the major field right in front of you, and you got the Babe Ruth field or the senior ball field to the right. If you're on the other side, you've got the minor league field, you've got T-ball, and then you've got the farm field. So where is there 50 feet, 50-foot buffer? There may be on the left side there, but, I think it's probably just 50 feet.
No, then, you know, unless, those are the concerns that I don't see addressed in this ordinance.
So what do you propose?
I would send it back, council, have the police department, weigh in on this.
They have. Well, they weighed in on it the first time around.
I know, but, well, let's see it in front of us again, so.
Yeah. But some of the concerns that the police department have, or had, which you just highlighted, enforceability, are we gonna be there, having a police officer there, whether it's 3.5 feet, your leash, as opposed to 3 feet, that hasn't changed with this. So I know how the police department, feels about this. And I understand this, the one resident who brought it to our attention, I understand his concern. There's no sidewalks, along those streets, but, there's no sidewalks on a lot of streets in Dumont. You just have to be a little bit more careful. I know that Ellen did some investigation. I don't know that there's been any incident, around the streets surrounding the park where there's been anybody, hit by a car, or where there's been any dog hit by a car. So I'm strongly against it for the reasons which you've identified. I'll send it back and ask them to identify some of these concerns.
And then have it, brought for the council to have a discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Councilman Carrick, anything?
Can we approve the minutes?
Oh, sorry about that. We jumped right in. That was the March 3rd meeting. All right, I move to approve the minutes of the March 3rd, 2010 meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Sorry about that. All right, any further discussion on the rent leveling board ordinance or the Parks and Playgrounds ordinance?
Yeah.
Yes.
Parks and playground. I mean, I own 2 dogs. My wife walks into the outside of the street all around. Dogs don't belong in the park.
Mhm.
There's people in there with strollers. I don't need it. I know my own dog jumps up on carriages just in the street. My dogs are good dogs. I don't trust anybody's dog. I don't believe they should be in the park. But comments that call made the same thing. Who's gonna clean up after these things? Who's gonna enforce them? A 3-foot leash? Little old lady walking the dog, sees a kid, runs after a ball, she's take it off. My opinion, and I was surprised my wife don't even argue with me about it. Dogs don't belong in Memorial Park. There is no 50 feet around where you don't find a ball field. You can't go to Twin Borough Park, you can't go to Columbia Park and tell me that's 50 feet. Because the whole thing's a ball field. So is Bedford, so is Selza, so is Holmes.
Right.
Keep them outside. It's worked before. And again with you, it's a Green Acres Park. We've seen them ourselves where they've had their dogs in the car while they're playing basketball. What's gonna stop them from letting these things out at night? All right, and our kids both play on the field.
Yeah.
And both play basketball. Dogs love to chase balls.
And chase little kids.
And I'm sorry, I don't believe, and I'll say the same as you said, correct, the verbiage is okay, but I disagree with it.
Well, I mean, then just to echo your point, we have a dog as well. My wife, and we have a little dog. My wife would love to bring the dog to the park and watch, me and you and I, coach the kids. We coach together, and she would love to have Max out, but it's not a good law. For the reasons that, not to be repetitive, but for the reasons that you guys have already stated, it's just not. So, that being said, obviously it needs to, go before the entire council. We're only 3 of 6. We'll tighten up the language send it out and see what the rest of the council wants to do with this. You guys know where I stand, and I know where you stand. Okay, anything further on those two? All right. Third item up for this discussion was pay-to-play reform. We started this discussion at our last meeting, at our March 3rd meeting. At that point in time, I think we had a pretty good roadmap in place. That being said, I still, I gave this a lot of thought, as I'm sure you gentlemen have as well. I want to move quickly, smartly, but quickly. I don't see that there's any need to really play this out or delay this any longer or further than it needs to be. One of the things that we wanted to do was take a look at some of the ordinances that were passed in other towns. I know that there are several that are very, very close to Dumont: Emerson, Fairlawn, Hasbrook Heights, Hillsdale, Ordell, Ramsey, Ringwood, Saddle River, to name a few. And I know that Carl has pulled a few more and had them put in binders for us. And the other thing that we want to do, I have read through some of the local ones, and the other thing that we want to do was to talk to some of these towns. But also, I think on a more global basis, we've invited Mr. Paul Eisenman and people from his office to come talk to us today. He's with Citizens Campaign, which is a statewide group interested in having all municipalities and counties pass pay-to-play ordinances. I did have a discussion with Mr. Eisenman, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, and we had a nice little talk, and I don't want to steal his thunder. Mr. Eisenman, can you...
Yes. Well, I am, as you say, I'm an officer of Urban Grassroots, which is part of the Democracy for America, and we became interested in Citizens Campaign, which is statewide.
Can you just, I don't mean to interrupt you, can you just spell your last name for the record?
Eisenman.
I'm sorry.
And Paul, just like Paul. As a Bergen County group, we learned about what Citizens Campaign was doing, and we thought that this was a great program, just the kind of thing that we wanted to do. And so we became their arms and their eyes and their ears in Bergen County. And I've asked Heather Taylor here today. Heather is from Citizens Campaign, the statewide organization, and she actually knows the ordinance by heart. And so that's as much as I need to tell you. She'll answer questions regarding the intricacies of the ordinance. The one we're talking about is a model ordinance that was developed by a task force of Citizens Campaign, and the head of the task force was Gary Stein, who's the retired Chief Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court. And the ones that you're looking at are all going to be variations of that model, because they all contacted us and got it and then adjusted it to whatever they felt was most appropriate. And then it was challenged, and it got to the New Jersey Supreme Court, the current New Jersey Supreme Court, and they said yes, it's constitutional. So why don't I let Heather answer whatever questions you have. Heather Taylor is from Citizens Campaign, located in Metuchen.
Thank you, Paul.
Heather, why don't you have a seat?
All right. Thank
Do you want to spell your last name? I'm sure it's just like it sounds, but...
Yeah, Paylor. Thank you for this opportunity to come before your committee. As Paul said, we wrote the model ordinance that has been promulgated in towns across New Jersey. And I want to, before I start, just emphasize that it's contracting reform, not campaign finance reform. And so that's what makes pay-to-play unique, is that we are putting in protections on how government contracts are awarded so that political contributions don't influence the process. I'm not here because it's alleged that it's happening in Dumont or in other towns. We'd like to see this as a safeguard to prevent pay-to-play from happening. I think we've all read news headlines of things happening in different towns, from small little suburbs to huge major cities. Pay-to-play can affect any community, and it's important. We want to ask elected officials to put in the protections necessary to make sure that the money isn't influencing how contracts are awarded. So I don't know, I brought copies of our model.
Perfect.
I'm not sure if this is in the binders, we have a lot.
It's right
Yeah.
here.
Should have.
Now, which one do you have? Because we have two different models, and I was going to start by saying, if you have, you probably have like the TNS version.
Or I gave them a blank one, the blank one.
Okay, no, this is the one I brought.
Yeah, we got the same.
Do you have any extras for the members of the audience? Basically, the structure is that it sets limits on contributions that professionals such as attorneys, engineers, and auditors and other professional service contractors can donate to be eligible to receive the government contract. It sets a 1-year prior time period. And then once a contractor enters into negotiations or into a contract, they're banned from making contributions through the completion of the contract. So usually you'll award a contract to an attorney for a 1-year period. So they would be banned from making contributions during that year. The contribution limits are $300 to town candidates and the local political parties, $500 to the county party and PAC, and then $2,500 in aggregate. So if you have a firm of 100 partners, they can't all just make $300 contributions to get upwards of $30,000. They max out at $2,500. And again, that's for the 1 year prior. And then the penalty, and this is what's unique about what we put together here in New Jersey, is that the penalty is not a hearing process and a fine, but it's a breach of contract. Now, if the firm violates the ordinance directly and gives to a town council candidate, it's in breach and it's handled as any other breach contract. You could renegotiate the terms and re-award it. You could say, you know what, we're done, we don't want to do business with you anymore. If a firm tries to wheel money, as a frequent word we read in the press, they're in breach and then banned from getting contracts for 4 years. And really that creates the incentive to abide by the law, because businesses don't want, that's putting the livelihood of their business in jeopardy if they're caught wheeling. And this is the same framework at the state level. We actually borrowed our penalty clause from the state pay-to-play law, and it's been found to be very effective. Now, I did mention we have 2 ordinances. So this one is our oldest model for professional service contracts. Several other municipalities, since the enabling authority got passed by the state, which basically in 2006 the law went into effect saying towns have a right to adopt their own pay-to-play law, we were able to expand it to bid contracts. And so I did not bring that model with me. So that's something that you might see as you're reviewing other municipalities, and the way that our model sets it is that the contribution restrictions only apply during performance. We allow the bidding process to go as it does. You know, you get the lowest qualified bidder. There's no contribution restrictions. But then once you enter into a contract, you need to put in the safeguards, because then you have issues of change orders coming up. You, as the elected or governing body, are monitoring their performance. Money shouldn't be changing hands. Well, you're basically the boss of these people. You know, money shouldn't be changing hands. So that's a different model that I didn't bring, but I'm sure, I think TNEC might have that model. And that is the A to Z, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
That was a quick version.
Just a couple of things that pop to mind. Why I struggled with this, you know, the amounts. Why 300, 500, and 2,500? What's the thought process behind that?
They seem like reasonable limits that they wouldn't create undue influence, but those amounts have changed in different towns. I know where I grew up in Hopewell, when they adopted it, they wanted zero tolerance. No money even a year prior. They said no. Because to them, maybe a campaign costs $900. $300 can make or break their campaign. Other towns have set limits at $150 and an aggregate of $1,000. It's at the discretion of the governing body, but $300 is what our model was, and it's been working in other towns. It's the reporting threshold. I think that's why that number.
Right.
It used to be 400, and then when they lowered the reporting threshold, we lowered it in our model.
Okay. What's the most you've seen as far as contributions to a town candidate allowed?
In the aggregate, or I think 400. There might be some. I don't know of any off the top of my head where it's 500, but I would say maybe 400. I know all the earlier ordinances were 400, because that's what the reporting threshold was.
Somebody had it, I'll have to look through it.
Emerson.
Somebody had 500, was it?
Emerson.
Emerson had it.
Ever said 500?
Yeah.
Okay. And, you say that the penalty is breach of contract,
Mhm.
and that, it's handled as any other breach of contract claim. What if the governing body is comprised of 6 Democrats, 6 Republicans, whatever it is, and they don't want to act on that breach of contract, they don't want to renegotiate, they don't want to enforce any rights that may arise as a result of the breach? Is it a mandatory renegotiation? Is it a
Well, it's mandatory, it's a breach, it's in the term of the contract, and then how the council handles that, I'm sure there'll be public, if it's reported in the press, there'll be public pressure, to handle it, if it was an egregious mistake, egregious contribution, or a mistake. And I should say, there is a quick cure clause, I forgot that part,
A what, I'm sorry?
a cure clause, if there was an inadvertent contribution made, if someone joined the firm that year and had made a contribution, and didn't know that the firm had a contract, if there's any sort of mistake.
So if they donated $2,500 and this new person came on, they donated $300.
The way the what?
You just said the firm could come up to $2,500 for the partners.
Yes,
Let
in
somebody else
aggregate.
come in.
But if they had already hit their aggregate and it put them over, or, and if someone didn't know about the law, then they have within 30 days after it's published inside the ELEC report, is the way it's drafted. Other models have it 30 days after the general election, but it's to allow for inadvertent mistakes, so they can cure it. So maybe you don't have to go to that level of breach.
Have you seen towns that had to do this, breach their contract?
Yes, I
What
have.
towns were they?
I know Hamilton Township had an issue. Trying to think. Most of it's handled, that's the one off the top of my head, is
How do
that
they handle
actual
it?
breach. And some get caught before the contract's awarded, so it'll be coming up on the agenda and then get reported in the press, oh wait, they've given money, so now you're knocked out of eligibility.
How did Hamilton Township handle it?
They breached, they found and disqualified that vendor, that contractor, the attorney.
Some of the ordinance that I read have a dollar fine to it, and I didn't see that they had a breach clause in it.
Mhm.
So is it either or is it whatever the municipality feels is most effective?
We don't find that method effective. If you look at campaign finance laws, levying fines, it's just a slap on the wrist, it's the cost of doing business.
No,
And it requires
wasn't
more.
only fines, but there was an exclusion for, in one town was 1 year, another town was 4 years, so.
Well, that's in ours.
But yours was 4 years.
Ours is 4.
Yeah.
Some has gone to 3, others 2. That has varied. Most go with the 4.
But they're not mutually exclusive. In other words, you could have a
That's what
fine.
I'm asking.
Exactly,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
So you could have a fine and a prohibition on doing business with the town, or you can have, I guess, both restrictions, a slap on the wrist and then something a little bit more dramatic.
But the breach is the key part, because the enforcement of this ordinance is not anyone in the administration or in the council. The onus is on the business entity themselves. So that's why you don't find the elected officials. They're not signing any piece of paper saying they're not taking contribution. Attorneys are free to give money here. It's just that if you wish to enter into a contract with the borough, these are the rules you have to play by. So we found fines aren't effective, but
Have you found a lot of the wheeling going on?
wheeling, yeah, you read about it in the paper.
I read it, but you've dealt with it, you've seen a lot of towns who've actually entered into this contract and got caught with it?
The cases, there's been, I guess, there's been suspicion, I would say, especially with PACs springing up. I just got a call last week from a town attorney that has an ordinance, and there were issues of possible wheeling, and they were trying to figure out what to do. And we defined the PAC here, because PACs are very hard to nail down. But we define a PAC here as a PAC that regulates, engages in, or whose primary purpose is to support municipal elections and/or municipal parties. And that's the most narrow definition we can get without being too broad.
That was my follow-up question to that, is the state ordinance or statute refers to political party committees and not PACs. So is that one and the same, or is there a difference? I mean,
I mean, this covers the political parties
because
as well.
there is no mention about PACs. So I don't know,
Oh, no,
unless I
PACs.
missed
Yeah,
it
no.
in the state stuff. I didn't come across PACs
I believe
specifically.
I
They talk about political party, committees. They talk about municipal committees, and they talk about county committees. They talk about all that, but I don't see reference in the state statutes to PACs. So my question is this one and the same with the political party committee, or is this something different? I know at the federal level, we do have PACs, and our governor and our ex-governor rely heavily on monies coming from out of state through these PACs. It seems that if those entities are part of what we're looking at here, then they should be also part of the state statute. So, can you help me out here? Because I have a problem with that, you know?
That doesn't cover PACs?
Well, yeah, we're talking about something here, and a lot of the ordinances that have been passed talk about PACs, and there's no mention of the political party committees. So.
Well, there are. The political party committees are in the ordinance.
Okay.
That's the Democratic, Republican, county, and local municipal
Well,
committees.
show me where. Because like I said, I looked through this, and I looked at the state,
Yeah, so it says here, or to any municipality or
Yes.
county party committee.
Okay.
That's one. And
That's
so,
one, and that's
the
directly,
first.
that's
in the
directly
ordinance.
in the state. They identify the county,
Yes.
the municipality, and, and state.
So then the second question is on
Yeah.
PACs.
Yes.
And I believe you are correct that is in the state statute, including the governor's executive order, PACs aren't directly included. Now I know there have been issues in the press, and we have said that they should be treated as circumvention through the anti-circumvention clause. And so that would be up to the Treasury to enforce if they think that a firm was trying to circumvent the law. We're trying.
But firms aren't going to be the ones that are directing the tax. You know what I'm saying?
No, but if the township, if the borough explicitly says, we're going to be on watch, and if we hear that you're donating and trying to wheel money, and it's reported in the press, there's going to be pressure to enforce through the breach of contract and through the anti-circumvention clause.
What do you think about that? I mean, that's illegal. I mean, I don't know, it just sounds like another hurdle to succumb.
Well, something we need to think about, and that's really,
Yeah,
the other, I guess, just on the enforceability end of things, we're fortunate enough in this town to have, watchdogs, if you will, citizen watchdogs. What about those towns where you don't have that level of interest by, the average resident? Who is it incumbent upon to oversee this and then enforce it? I know the enforcement part of it, but are you leaving the fox in charge of the hen house?
Well, the breach of contract, if you have a $500,000 contract comes up, that's significant for a business to lose. So that's the first incentive. And in the state law, we saw a reduction of state contractor contributions by 80% after that first year the state play law was in effect.
Okay.
What was my second point? So it's effective, but the watchdogs are one example of citizens, and that's, I know, you see, actually another town, Morristown, I know a citizen was bringing forward on, she had noticed the broker or certain people were making contributions, and they ended up not awarding the contract. And that was a citizen watchdog. In other cases, you'll have competing contractors who want the job. They don't, hey, they violated your pay-to-play law, we abided by it.
Right.
How are they getting the contract? I think even in the state pay-to-play law in the court challenge, I think one of the amicus to that case was a competing contractor who had gotten knocked out. And third, the press, just the spotlight, the sunshine on what's happening in government. I think those are the three enforcement agencies. We have ELEC has their database. You can
Right.
search, something much more user-friendly.
to get onto the site first.
Huh?
You have to get onto the site first.
You know, the state law requires any business that does more than 50,000 in public contracts must disclose all their political contributions. There's an annual disclosure, so that also can be an easy tool to monitor for citizens, press, what have you. And another one is competing candidates.
Right.
I mean, that's great political fodder, you know, that's an easy hit. If someone's violating the law, they can go after the money.
Let me just backtrack for a minute. $300 to town candidates, is that per year, or is that $300 per election? So in other words, can somebody get $300 in a primary and then $300 in a general election for a total of $600?
It's annual, so
Annual,
it's for 1
okay,
year.
okay.
I believe some towns have done per election, very few.
Okay.
Because you really then are doubling the limit.
Right.
if you do
Any
per-
candidate? What if it's not a candidate? What if we have two
The
council
Joint
people?
Candidates Committee?
No.
Oh.
No. We have two council people running this year, say, and there's 4 other council people on the thing. They're able to receive money too, or just the 2 council people that are running?
So in a primary,
To the
Right.
Candidates Committee.
okay.
But nobody else on that, none of the other council members are able to accept money that year that they're not running?
Correct.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm asking this
Oh, no,
question.
I didn't see that yet.
That's my question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
The ordinance is tied to the contracting period, so they can't give to any candidate. I mean, I don't know if
But
fundraising.
it's not candidates.
That's one.
If there's 2,
Well, it's a
Let me
candidate, it's a
stop a
candidates
second.
committee,
Let me hold
which
on
is
for
being
one second.
regulated. They wouldn't give money to a council person.
No, we
They would
don't
give
know
to a
that.
candidate committee.
No.
So it's regulating contracts from a contractor to a candidate
I don't
committee,
believe
even
that.
if it's not an election year. If
Yeah.
money's going into a candidate committee, it's going towards the benefit of an election.
Yeah, but you're missing my point. Harry, for instance, is running this year alongside with Ellen, okay? 2 of them are gonna run. They're gonna be getting money from professionals. There's 4 other members of the council, myself, Carl,
Mhm.
Ken, and Marty. Nobody can donate to us while we're not running, right? That year.
Oh, I don't
Money
think
cannot
that's
go
right.
into our campaign,
You
can
can
it?
start fundraising the day after they win their election.
But then can
For the
that
next-
money, well, I guess then it'd be up to the to the municipality to prohibit the wheeling of those funds from
Right.
your account to my
To
account.
his account.
No, it covers everyone in the council.
No, maybe I'm
No,
missing
no,
what you
no.
just
I'm
said.
missing it.
If I get,
I understand what you're saying.
if I'm getting money, I'm not running this year, I ran last year.
Can
But
you-
it's regulating the contractor, not your campaign account.
Yeah, but-
If the contractor gives to anyone on the council.
You're not missing,
No?
you keep missing my point.
Okay,
Maybe
I
I'm
think you're saying
confused.
because you're not running that year, then you can take the money. That's what I think you're saying.
It says $300 each for any purpose to any candidate.
Right.
Or for mayor or a governing body. So can one company, which is governed by the contract, give $300 to all 6 members on the governing body? Or is it limited to giving $300 to one person, 2 see, what his concern is, and I see where he's going with it, can, let's say, ABC Corporation give $300 to Carl, $300 to him, $300 to all of us for a total of $1,800. They don't violate
They didn't go with the aggregate, so they're okay.
well, they not only don't go over the aggregate, but if they're at $1,800, and they don't violate the $300 per candidate, restriction either, or ceiling. So they're at 300, but they're giving it to 6 different people.
Mhm.
Does that, how does this ordinance address that, where the Democratic Party, if you will, is getting assuming there's 6 Democrats,
Yeah.
is getting $1,800, and then that could be used towards my campaign, or Ellen's campaign, or Matt's, whatever.
Well, the municipal party is 300 limit.
Okay.
And then the county
Yeah, but
party
what
is
stops it-
500.
what
If you're
stops
talking
it from
about a
coming
joint
up-
candidates committee, it's been interpreted, I know, in Hoboken, where if you have 4 candidates, a contractor can make a single donation of whatever, $1,200 towards that joint candidates committee, because you're allotting 300 per candidate in that joint. So,
Okay.
No, not for me.
No,
I'm still
I-
upset.
Sorry.
Let me finish, Bob, let me finish.
Okay, no,
Because
but I wanna try to say it a little differently, because I know what you're getting at, Matt.
I wanna try and finish it before I go on.
Okay.
Okay?
Sorry, I'm not.
That's okay, that's why we're here, that's the whole purpose of this.
I'm new to this, so that's why I'm
All
asking a
right.
lot of questions. He can get donated $300 from,
Annually.
from any one of our professionals, right?
Mhm.
As long as Ellen.
Well, no, as long as they're not in contract, that's pre-con, zero during performance.
Oh, so if we have an existing contract.
See, that's the problem, you guys are trying to follow me. We have contracts with professionals this year,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that he's gonna run with. You're telling us now that they can't donate to his campaign.
Once you pass an ordinance that's setting the rules in place, you can't go retroactively put the ordinance, that they would be, for this year, afterwards, after a couple of years, once this ordinance is in place, while you're under performance, our model is zero tolerance to
Why are you
performance.
giving a contract from Dumont?
Wait, what?
While we have given a contract to somebody in Dumont, an engineering firm,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and we say we put this pay-to-play in ordinance that we're talking about. That year that it takes effect, the next candidate running, the following year, that professional can't donate no money to that contract, to that campaign.
Okay.
If they're under contract, yes.
Right. Okay. That's one of my things. I'm sorry, but I'll let you go. Okay. You said the word wheeling before.
Yes.
Okay, and we've all read it in the paper, we've seen a lot of it. Harry just touched on this, they give out $1,800, okay, to each, say, me, Paul, Marty, and the rest of us. What's to stop that money from leaving my account to go to his account?
That's called wheeling.
Right.
Moving it from one account to another account
Right.
is wheeling.
No, I understand the term, I understand the thing, but who's the watchful eye? You're saying,
I've never encountered that scenario.
What?
I've never encountered where a council person, usually when you think of wheeling, it's money from outside the area going in. I've never seen council to count within a town wheeling. And that I know of. I'm sorry, no one's ever brought that to my
I don't think
attention.
you're on the paper enough.
welcome
because it's
Oh, did
Dumont.
that ever happen?
Welcome to the paper. We gotta read the record more.
What did I miss?
Bob, go ahead, I'm
No,
sorry.
I thought what Matt was asking, I'm Bob Zeitlinger.
Oh, hi.
Hi, is when you have, say, Harry and Carl are running, they don't run together, but say they are running together, can a professional firm that's not doing business with the town at this point give to the four other elected officials who aren't running that year $300 apiece? If they want to.
As long as they're held by the same limits, yes.
Okay, but they can give, because you say you can't give 300 to, you use the word candidate. Now, Matt has a campaign a campaign account that's open that is re-election for 2012, let's
Okay.
say, right?
It's
So he's a candidate, but not,
In
what
this
most
term.
people wouldn't, not for this election
It's a
cycle.
candidate committee,
He's a
though.
candidate in 3 years.
Mhm.
So we have elected officials who are, even though they're not running this year, are amassing, are
And they're
fundraising.
held, and the firm would be held to the same, the country restrictions would be applied to those candidate committees as
You're
well.
not talking about the restrictions so much.
No, can that professional that's doing business this year, and I'm not running to 2012, donate money to my campaign for
Does
2012?
that count?
Within the limits
Yeah.
set
Yes,
forth.
$300.
So he can do that?
Yes.
Even though he's under contract with
No,
us?
he'd be zero tolerance.
Say that.
Oh, no,
I'm
that
sorry.
is under contract.
That's what I'm asking.
Under contract, zero
So
tolerance.
no, Bob, just one second.
We're not talking about the contract.
Call,
We're talking
just
about-
one.
Again, we're regulating the award of the
No
contract.
contract. No, T&M Engineering, okay, so he has it, and we're going into this pay-to-play right now. And I'm running in 2012. None of them can donate money to my account.
No, and that falls under what Heather said is, when you're an elected official, you cannot receive money from somebody that you've hired.
That's
So
what I was just, that's the point I
You can't give
want.
money, so T&M or whatever organization can't give money to their bosses, let's
Right.
say. So if and your client is your boss in the broadest sense.
Right.
So you can't, the way I think about it is, you can't give money to your boss, that represents
Exactly.
some sort of conflict of interest.
Let me ask you a question. So there's no
I assume you
restriction.
all understand that you can give $299. The limit has to do with the amount you give. If there's a limit, once your ordinance establishes a limit, you can give $1 less.
It just can't give 300.
You can't give 300. You look at the ELEC website, and you'll see millions of donations of $299.
Well, all right, to that point, can a company that's presently doing business, because you use the word zero tolerance, under your model, can a company that's presently doing business and under contract with the borough give $299?
No.
Okay.
It
cannot?
is, They can't, it's zero. It is harder, I know
If
that's
you
a-
run the contract.
If
right?
you're- So the model ordinance allows somebody who's not doing business, but who wants to do business with the town, give money, but somebody who's doing business with the
Can't.
town cannot.
Yeah.
So you
During
can
the
basically try
contract
to buy
period.
your way in if you're on the outside, but if you're
Can't
in,
pay
you
while you're
can't.
in the
You can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, why, there's sort of like an inconsistency.
Yeah, that
But
doesn't
you
seem
can buy
right.
your way in for $299. If
I
you
mean-
give more than 300,
No,
you're
no,
disqualified.
Yeah, but what happens though, what happens if you said that the number was $2,500?
That's the
So
aggregate
if
from
you
a firm.
wanna buy your way
From
in
a
for
firm.
300.
But doesn't
if
it
that's-
20
if that's
290
to buy
you need
somebody,
one meeting at a
then
time.
that's fine, then you can buy somebody. But
As
the
long as
point
you know
is,
the contract.
300
meeting
is
at a
a
time.
low
Yeah.
amount that
Alright,
would
let's-
influence somebody.
Let's direct it this way.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you said $2,500, I might be missing the whole point. But if they all wrote checks for $299,
Yeah, no.
they can get away with it. And they're
Um,
not doing business with us.
wait,
So they can give to Harry's campaign,
This is, yeah.
this is a firm, he said XYZ, okay, that's doing no business with Dumont right now. And just, there's 10 partners, whatever, and they all wanna give, say, $299. They can do that?
I think, no, that would be a violation, but that would have to be.
How would it be a violation? Because if they're not under contract, they're not doing business with us.
So, but the whole, wait, my math, so that'd be 10 partners, 29. I mean, are you trying to say that they go over the aggregate, or they're still under the
They're
aggregate?
still under the average, they can still do that.
Yes,
As
if
long
they're
as
not, if they're not in contract.
If they're not in contract.
So again, they can buy their way in the door.
If you consider that buying their way in the door, we
Yeah,
thought they were.
That's how I guess I'm
I
trying to say,
mean,
they're buying their way in.
No, keep in mind, Matt, this is a model, I mean, you
It's
can
a you
tweak
could go
it.
lower with the limits.
That's why I'm just trying to get it fixed from her, and
Right.
we can
You
change
can
it
make
around.
it zero
But-
tolerance pre-contract and during contract if the limits are too high.
But what you can do, I mean, this is their suggested model. You can tweak it any way you want, as some towns have done. I mean, this is what they put in place. You can, I mean, to me, there's, I think, a little bit of an inconsistency, you know, if you're treating firms that aren't doing business a little bit differently than those that are doing business with already under contract. You know, one can donate, one can contribute, one can't. So, I mean, that's something that.
Well, that's something we have to.
Yeah, something
Well,
we
for
have
us,
to
I mean,
around.
it's a greater sensitivity when you're performing a job. As I said, you're their employer monitoring
You know,
them.
You could take
And
it to
there's
the
a-
next
and-
level and have, you know, total transparency, dollar in, dollar one, dollar
Right.
out, one,
Right.
and have it reported.
Right,
And if you don't do that, then you're in violation and you don't get anything.
right, right.
You can do it that way too. I mean, you know, it doesn't circumvent the $299 rule, or the $250, or the $150, whatever.
Wherever you
You know,
said it.
you put
yeah.
$1 in, you're accounted for it. You know, you gave me a dollar, you're identified as giving me a dollar.
Well, I think,
You know?
I think they don't report under 200.
Under
Well,
300.
300, yeah.
300.
See, and that's, to me, is kind of half-assed, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, if
It's
you
an
want
imper-
transparency.
You know what,
well, that's what you do.
it's an imperfect
Yeah,
system.
you know.
And it depends to a great extent on public awareness.
Yeah, but it's not fair, because I'm happen to be the guy that's gonna sway some votes next year. And I tell this guy, I'm gonna get rid of this firm, donate all this money, this way, okay, and then I'm gonna get you in next year.
This is hypothetical for the record, by the way.
I'm just trying to say ways of not letting this happen.
Yeah.
Well, Matt,
Because I've seen it.
you know, you're absolutely right. I don't think that hasn't been a scenario in places. Because if you can think of it, I'm sure it's been tried.
One would hope that the firm's
Yeah.
service, when they have the contract, would be enough, would be their way of buying in for a renewal of their contract. If they've been doing a good job, the town's not gonna fire them if someone gave $2,500 to an election.
Well, that's another question I have also. You had professionals in many of these towns that service these towns very strongly and very diligently over the years. Now get caught up in this campaign, you know, financing, and now they're out the door. Again, I agree with that. I don't think that's a fair way of treating someone who's helped municipalities, you know, over the course of time.
Well, I mean,
You
they
know,
have.
and we had, right, and TNF was a classic example, the engineer over there. You know, but there's gotta be a balance, I think, and I think that's what we're striving for here, is balance, and openness and transparency. And to that extent, that's what we're gonna have to grapple with. I appreciate you taking the time.
Mr. Chairman, can I make closing statements then, and then we'll get out of this?
Well-
I know people gotta go.
Yeah, I know, 7:30. Let me just open it up real quickly. Thank you very much, by
Thank
the
you,
way.
and,
Can I, do you have a business card? 'Cause
I think it's cards, I brought brochures too.
Perfect. Excellent. I mean, offline, one of us may wanna call you. if you
Yes,
have,
and I'm
have
happy
questions.
to,
Thank
Attorney
you
Cliff,
to
let me
Mr.
get my
Eisman as
card.
well for taking the time
Thanks, Paul.
to come in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're gonna get this done. So, and I appreciate, I know that you were at one of our meetings. I appreciate you guys coming in and taking the time to talk to us.
I appreciate the opportunity to persuade you that it's a good idea.
There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Let me do this before, this, just to go around this, do you have any specific questions or anything you wanna say to summarize, or?
Briefly.
Okay.
Okay, after last month's meeting, I mean, I think Kathy did a great job with all this. Very truthfully, Carl, this is not what I asked for, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, or maybe I misunderstood this. I thought we were gonna pull out 6 or 7 of these. I thought we were gonna bring in some witnesses. I didn't think that I was gonna go from Bergen County to Atlantic County. I'm not reading every one of these. I'm sorry. This is not what I picked. I live in Dumont, 40 years, Bergen County. I'll be glad to go through the Bergen County ones, because that's what I did ask for at the last meeting, 6 or 7 of them. Again, Kathy, I'm sure you did a beautiful job. I know you were
No, that's
directed
okay.
by the mayor. That's fine. But this is ridiculous. This is something that's gonna take months to get going. And this is something that I didn't.
disagree.
Well,
Just-
after you're done, you can say anything you want. I don't think that this is gonna work this way. I don't have 2 or 3 months to play with this. We did say we were gonna try and get this done quickly, okay, because we have a lot of other things in town that we need to take care of. This is not something that, until I'm on the record, I agree with, okay? I'm not reading 2 books full of this stuff. I read from one end of the county, the state to the other state end, okay? Let's stick in Bergen County and do what we're supposed to do. Let's fix Dumont. This is what we're here for. I was elected to be into Dumont, okay? I have no place else to go after this. I'm not looking for any higher office. I'm here to represent the people of Dumont, okay? I have no political aspects. Let's do the right thing, in my opinion.
Carl, anything to summarize?
No, I think that we need to have balance, and I think you gotta see what other towns have done. And, you know, that's your choice. I don't have a problem reading through this stuff. That's me, you know. And Harry knows that I'll read whatever I'm given and I'll go through it, whether it takes 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I'll read through all of this stuff. You wanna do Bergen County? That's fine, I don't have a problem with that. But I think we have to get an idea of what's going on in the rest of the state. That's all I have to say. I think that we are gonna get this done, and I think it'll be balanced by the time we finish it up.
What I'd like to do, I sent out an email. I have a conflict for our next scheduled meeting, which is April 14th. I'm gonna be in Atlanta. I'd like to move that meeting to April 19th, which is a Monday at 6:30. If you guys, have you had the opportunity to check your schedules? Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Carl? No good?
No, I have a meeting on the 19th.
Okay, and the 20th we have a actually the 20th school board.
School board's on the 21st, we have a
Council meeting. How does Monday the 12th look?
Good.
I'm fine.
6:30?
Yep.
Alright, 6:30, Monday the 12th, and our next scheduled meeting will remain on the 28th. What I'm going to do, for our next meeting is I'm gonna reach out to some of these towns, that I've identified, Emerson, Fairlawn, Hasbrook Heights, Hillsdale, Oradell, Ramsey, Ringwood, Saddle River, and have them hopefully come in to talk to us, and see what their experience has been, and, you know, we could take a look at their samples, or what they've, not samples, what they've enacted, and just see whether the experience has been positive or negative. If anybody wants to reach out, to, any other town, you know, just let us know, and I'll reach out to them as well. What I'd like to do, you know, obviously we need to see how things progress, but, you know, I'll move to 3 meetings a month if we have to. I really, you know, think I agree with both of you. I think we need to be smart, but I think we need to act, you know, quickly. We need to act quickly, and I'd like to see, I think we need to set a goal, and I'd like to see this, a finalized version, you know, before the council for its consideration, at either the, you know, ideally at the May meeting. You know, gives us almost 2 months to get it done. you know, obviously, some factors may play into that, but I don't think that's an unrealistic timeline.
Harry, excuse me, you're busy on the 12th.
What am I doing? What time is that? 7. All right, I may have to miss the rent leveling. Let's leave it on for the 12th. Can I have a motion to open up for public participation?
Second.
All in favor? Anyone from the public have anything to say? I know we sort of made it an informal
I
meeting.
do, but I don't wanna, I gotta get to
Okay.
a string concert. I'll just send you guys an email with some of my thoughts.
Okay.
Bob, could you just tell me your address?
Sure, 237 Lexington Ave.
Okay.
You're welcome to say something if you like.
Oh, no.
Mr. Chen, anything?
Nope, I have no comments at this time, thank you.
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.